Leigh Matthews' murderer, Donovan Moodley, is applying for parole. Matthews' parents and attorney are expected to attend the hearing into that, the processes around that. Moodley has served less than 17 years for kidnapping and shooting Matthews in 2005. The Matthews family is questioning if Moodley has shown remorse. Senior reporter Barry Bateman is following developments and joins us now for that conversation. So Barry, just tell us where we are in as far as these processes around answering the question whether or not Donovan Moodley is eligible and his release is appropriate on parole.
Well, good afternoon, Tulas. He certainly is eligible for parole because he has served more than 2/3 of his sentence. He was given a life sentence for the murder of Leigh Matthews. So in that respect, he certainly is in a position to apply for it. But whether he is granted that parole is certainly an entirely different question, and that is the question that is going to be explored by the parole board in here today. So we've had various delegates that have gone in today. We've got Rob and Sharon Matthews, the parents of Leigh Matthews, as well as attorneys and NGOs that are going to be making submissions. But I just want to point out that this is just the start of the process, which could take potentially months before getting an outcome. We spoke earlier to Correctional Services spokesperson Singabako Nkumalo, and he had this to say about what's going to be happening.
Correctional Services, we can confirm that there is a session underway where Donovan Moodley, who's serving a life sentence, and the Matthews family, who are the victims to an offense that Mr. Moodley committed in 2004, are doing what we call oral representation. The session is on. We're hoping that it shall be concluded today, but this will not mean that it is the end of it, because after this, the parole board will have to put together everything. That profile will then have to be submitted before the National Council for Correctional Services, which will still have to dissect each and every piece, every statement in there, and make necessary recommendations, which will then go to the minister for the final decision to be made. Why is it so? Here we're dealing with someone who was sentenced to life, and all lifers' decisions go through that rigorous process, so that at the end of the day, should a person be placed out, we know exactly that we've done everything possible and that the risk is indeed diminished, and that person will not be a danger to society. Hence, it's important that it has to go through all these phases, so that at least as Correctional Services will know that whatever that we had to do in terms of rehabilitating the inmate and processes in place in processing in taking that person through have been done. So as a department, we'll allow these hearings to go all their way. In case we don't get to finish them today, we'll not rush it. We'll allow it to be done, so that at the end of the day, justice can be served for all parties.
So Barry, we know that this is a process, it's not an event. Any idea of what happens next and what the timelines are?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the difficult part. We don't know how much longer this is going to take. As we've seen before in other matters, let's look at Janusz Walusz, the murderer of SACP leader Chris Hani. How many, after he would hear a parole before eventually the minister make an announcement. It takes months for it to go through that whole process. So certainly, the difficulty for the Matthews family is that they've been enduring, and I've read the victim statement that they are going to be submitting here today, and they talk about how after 17 years, nearly 2 decades, how this is a constant reminder. They haven't had an opportunity to actually grieve and get over this. They still go to support sessions, because this is on their mind all the time. When they see a blonde girl in the street, they're just immediately reminded of their daughter. And this stage, this process has just reignited all those memories of what happened. And they're, of course, opposing the granting of parole to Donovan Moodley. So it's going to be another wait, possibly months, before they get another answer of whether or not this will continue or not.
All right, Barry Bateman, let's leave it there. We'll get an update from Barry throughout the day here on eNCA.